Jeff crawled silently through the bedroom window of his latest victim and gradually crept over the foot of the bed. His last encounter hadn't gone so well. The kid's father had intervened, and Jeff had lost one of his favorite knives when he threw it at the old man, whom startled Jeff when he brandished his shotgun at him, so it was his fault. The knife had missed its intended target and embedded itself into a David Bowie poster that hung on the boy's bedroom wall. Just one of life's little ironies, Jeff thought, chuckling to himself. Luckily, he had remembered to bring a spare with him that night, and hiding behind a bush, he applied his early eye drops, which were the only way to keep his eyes moist. Since the night he had removed the eyelids with a carving knife, it seemed like a good idea at the time. He applied extra drops this time, as the last struggle, followed by the long, hard run that it took to flee the scene, had dried up his eyes significantly, to the point where he had almost gone blind. "I'll get them later," he muttered to himself shortly after they escaped. After all, his father had always told him to finish what he had started. Then again, old Dad gotten himself carved into coleslaw, so how smart could it have been? Jeff was feeling hopeful about this next venture, though, and he raised the knife high above his head, taking a moment to savor the murder he was about to commit, as he liked to treat every slaying like a Thanksgiving dinner. But as he was about to plunge the knife into the helpless victim, revealing the sensation of his hands submerging themselves in a fresh open stomach, and giggled at the pitiful gasps of shock and pain that usually followed, he heard a voice that made him stop in his tracks. "Hi there, Smiley," the voice said. "It sure took you long enough to get here." It was the voice of a man in the bed. It spoke in a really soft but level tone, without a hint of fear. "Go to sleep," Jeff demanded in his own grainy and intimidating voice, the voice that struck helpless terror into the hearts of the victims all over town. But this man just chuckled casually. "I'm afraid you're in no position to give orders, son," he said, revealing a very subtle southern drawl that Jeff had not noticed a moment ago. Jeff remained frozen. Now he wanted more than anything to kill this man and get it over with, but he could not move. For the first time since acquiring his deformity and finding employment as the local homicidal maniac, Jeff had felt the icy grip of fear clutched at his spine. I said go to sleep," he bellowed. His voice was shaking as was his entire body. He was shaking so violently that he couldn't hold to the knife and dropped it from his hands. Suddenly, the man sat up. The moment was so sudden that it startled Jeff as he stumbled back a couple paces. Jeff could still not make out any of the man's features, only a vague outline of his upper body. It was as if the man was deliberately shrouding himself in darkness. The figure turned to face Jeff, and although he could not see them, he could feel the man's eyes staring directly at him, penetrating into the deepest regions of his being. "You may not know who I am, but I've been waiting for you for quite some time," the figure said. "You see, I've known about your little regime of terror for quite a while now, and I intend to put a stop to it tonight. But before you die, perhaps, I should take a moment to introduce myself. My name is..." A cold shiver ran through Jeff's spine upon hearing the man's name, a name consisting of what Jeff immediately recognized as the last two words he would ever hear.